Hey everyone, Will here from Mature Meta Gamers, and today we're going to be taking a look at Bardsung. This one is from Steam Forged Games, just launched today with only 16 days left to go. Not a long campaign, which I'm kind of surprised by. It's got almost $200,000 backed already with over 2,000 backers. This is a dungeon crawl board game. Best way to kind of describe it is you are trying to adventure into this dungeon while completing a 50-hour campaign. From the gameplay that I've seen so far, it's got a lot of elements that, really made me feel like I was playing a game or watching them play a game of Dungeons and Dragons, which I thought was great. I had a lot of fun watching what I've seen of Steamforged play this. I've seen what they've done on like Tabletopian stuff. I don't think they really even have like a physical prototype yet. I'm very excited. I'm a big fan of Steamforged games. I was a pundit for a while for Guild Ball. I liked Dark Souls enough. I mean, it was okay, I guess. My favorite game for them, it was definitely Guild Ball. I was just thoroughly impressed by the sports thematic. I'm not even a sports fan, but just how the game played and everything was utterly great. But on to Bard's song here, we've got some very cool looking art, in my opinion. I got a video you can watch here, but you've got this board that you're going to be essentially either playing a short game or a long game. You play a short game, you're going from short side to short side. Play a longer game, you're going to go from the long side to the long side. You've got this track up at the top that is basically the initiative order. You got all these dungeon tiles that as you explore, you're going to go from a room to a hallway. And then if you're in a hallway and you explore, you're going to go to a room. Each time you flip, you like encounter a new tile at all, you're going to flip in a deck of cards, which is pretty cool. I do like that. Reminds me a lot of the game Shadows of Brimstone. Oh, I couldn't think of the name of the game. Reminds me a lot of Shadows of Brimstone in that regard. The mechanics seem pretty decent, pretty straightforward. I like how the enemy cards have very simplistic to hit and then also to defend, but also have little bit of nuances to them, which makes it very cool. The dice, I'm glad it's not just a D20 and a D10. I mean, you looks like you have the full set of like a D&D set of dice, and each character is gonna have different abilities and different skills they can use. And it's a classless based style system where inherently your character has a generic attack and things and their base defense, but you can upgrade those stats, which is really awesome as well. So let's go ahead and dive into this Kickstarter. So the whole premise is when you live long enough to become a legend, when you face fearsome creatures others encounter only in the shadows of a darkest nightmare and live to tell the tale. The songs of your exploits will echo through the rundown taverns and gilded halls alike. Then you will be bard sung. Then you will have lived. Very cool. Very cool. I love the look at this. I think the minis look very good. So it's a dungeon crawling role playing game, cooperative 1 to 5 players, which is going to be good. I like how the miniatures look. I love the turtle. I'm very very excited about that. You got like a little, looks like a little tiefling kind of thing. Got it look maybe like a little dwarf here, then a wizard, an elf. Pretty awesome, pretty awesome. Now this creature looks pretty neat. It does remind me a lot. There was one in the miniatures from Dark Souls that this reminds me just, I mean, I don't know if it's just a little bit too much of it, but it's so close to what I remember in the Dark Souls board game. And it looks cool. It's large, and I like that compared to when you see it compared to some of the other models here. It's definitely large and going to take up an entire room, which is awesome. Yeah, you've got some looks like standard size 25 millimeter bases there, 50 millimeter even going up, and then 120 millimeter is the big guy. So a basic hero pledge here is about 99 US. A lot of miniatures. I mean, you got these just so many cool models in this. Wow. This looks really, really slick though. I like the tiles. I like how they look and the art. The back of the cards, I think they could use a little bit of work. I would really like to see them have a little bit more, maybe flair to them a little bit to make them stand out. I don't like this whole brown half circle, but I mean it is what it is. Get a Kickstarter exclusive hero, the Glade Strider. He looks awesome. Another hero, Centaur. You have a wandering monster, an Oni. Okay. Looks like we've unlocked so far a thief as well. I know the next hero, according to your announcement, or the next unlock, as you say, is a hero. It is it's like a dragonborn monk, which I think looks pretty cool, like a lizard monk. It looks pretty awesome. All right, get extra dice set, $12. I don't know. I think if I'm going to spend money on some dice, I think I'm probably just going to buy that my own style. I mean, for just some standard dice, you probably already even have a whole bunch. Additional pledges, $100 as well. Choose your add-ons afterwards. So each dungeon has a way in and a way out. The journey between is up to you. This is where it's going to give you the basic stats for that character. Simple hero creation. I get a starting role, but how they progress is up to you. The freedom to either follow the suggested path or create your own bespoke hero with a unique set of traits and arsenal of attack combos. That's pretty cool. I like how you're gonna put these little gems down, give your bonuses. Exploration again. One of the cool things when you explore and you draw a new tile, part of the explore action is you are thrust into the room. So whatever happens, whether it be a trap or I saw this we were a pit trap and there was some spikes that they fell down into, and then they found a skeleton inside, and then they may find like an item or a treasure down inside there, and then they have to climb their way out. I just think that's pretty awesome, actually. You draw an aspect card to see what awaits. Some environmental challenges here. We see an earthquake. It looks like it shutters all the exits. That's cool. Enemy behaviors are very simplistic. You're just going to follow this track down. If you can do the first thing, you do it. If you can't do that, it goes to the second, and then just keeps going until it completes one of the actions. Let's see here. Just like your hero, enemies can level up, evolve their attacks, and can learn to hold grudges against heroes or defeat them. That could be awesome. I wonder how they're going to do that. Zone-based system, emphasize freedom of movement. So you notice like on here, it's not hexes for movement. It's based on these little, you can kind of see that there's these little lines on the board here that kind of like this is the area you're in. You got the marching order, which again is kind of like the initiative track. In the video that I watched, one of the things they showed was, on the tabletop simulators, what it looked like. They were putting the cards into a bag. Um, and I know when you're changing the marching order, you're going to pick up the cards, you're going to shuffle them, and then lay them out. But I'm wondering how you're going to do that with some of the enemies. They have an opposite side, so when you defeat them, they're going to change their stats and flip over. And then when you defeat them that second time, that's when they go away. I wonder if they're going to just implement tokens for each of the characters, and you just put all the tokens in a bag, or how they're going to do that. Because I mean, obviously, if you like sleeve these cards, you want to want double-sided sleeve, sided sleeves, and clear on both sides. And I'm kind of curious on when you pick those cards up and shuffle them, you're going to know exactly where where the bigger creatures are to know. Say, hey, we don't want that up top. The Reapers, I think, is what it was, is the one of the double-sided cards. So that's I'd like to see what they're going to do a little bit more with that. You get this thing called Fate, which is how you're going to be using some of like the bigger abilities that you have, like casting spells or doing these mighty, like backhanded blows. I think it's really cool on how they've done combat in this. So when you swing your weapon, for example, you're going to have a target number or a TN number that you're trying to hit on the enemy. And on the enemy card, it's got a number in the top left corner. You roll a d20 plus your modifiers, and you're trying to hit that number or higher. You hit that number, then you look at the armor value of the enemy, and when you roll a dice, depending on what weapon you hit with. Like, for example, if you are, I believe one of the characters had a D8, and it shows maybe like a 4. So if you roll 4 or higher on that dice, you actually cause like a critical blow. And if you cause a critical blow, it actually knocks that creature out, which is really awesome. If you just did a regular hit, you're going to just cause a wound to the creature. If you roll a natural 20, it's an automatic critical, so it just knocks them out. And if they're a double-sided character or enemy that you're hitting, they just flip over to their opposite side unless they're already on their opposite side, in which they're just removed. It creates a very fast, engaging way to roll the dice but instantly see results, as opposed to, oh, I'm gonna hit this guy for 10. I always got 120 health, and you having all these trackers. And I think that the battle, they could do this really well. I mean, even if they have bigger creatures and these creatures have like 3 or 4 cards, that could be pretty awesome, where you have these big epic fights, and as they're going through, their stats are going to change and what they do are going to change. And I think that's actually really interesting. But back to the fate tokens, when you use these tokens, they get flipped over. If you roll natural 20, you roll a 1, you get your fate token back, and then you don't necessarily want to use the fate tokens if somebody else needs them to be able to do their ability, because they, working together, from what I've seen in this game, is actually very crucial to make sure that you're going to be successful. You don't want the other hero, you don't want any one hero to get surrounded, because you can be taken down pretty quickly. In defending is very similar, where you're going to be taking your defense, your D20, adding your defense number, which is, let's say it's a modifier +1, and you're going to be rolling that against that same target modifier that if you're striking the enemy. So if they had, again, a 10, you're going to try to roll your D20 plus your defense modifier and try to get above a 10, for example. And if you do that, they avoided the attack. I think it's a very, again, fast way that multiple enemies can take their swings, and then you can just evade them all at once. And I think that's actually a pretty refreshing way to do combat. And at the same time, on some abilities, being able to hit swaths of enemies all at once and be able to knock several of them out. I think, a lot of times we see these games where you're going to hit one guy, and then, nothing happens to the next person. But it seems like they've really taken these awesome ideas of being able to really feel like a hero and knock multiple people out. These fate tokens are kind of limited. Again, you can get those back in various means. There's other ways you can do it. Some of the heroes can generate them as well. And that's kind of like your push your luck, resource management, if you will, as far as like, do I use it or do I not? Do I hold back? 2 actions on your turn: you move, double move. You can attack twice, move, attack, move and explore. But remember, when you explore, you're going to be thrust into the room, and then whatever the room tile says, you're going to be drawing an aspect card, seeing what those things do. I watched one of the videos. They went into a room, and they found some brigands, and those brigands had poison weapons. So just based on the cards that were drawn, I thought that was really, really cool. I mean, who knows what else they could have drawn with how many cards are going to be potentially in the box. I think it could be really neat to show, as far as the variability of every time you dive into these dungeons, you don't know what you're going to encounter, and that's really cool. I'm very excited for this. Wandering monsters. Anytime you kind of like do an action, or you um, descend deeper, you're going to be rolling a die on a 5 or 6. You're going to have these wandering monsters appear. These wandering monsters, these more bigger, more epic creatures that you're going to have to battle and deal with. You got to be careful. You can't like stall them or anything. Um, so I think it's pretty cool that you don't know what's around the corner. And it all leads to that excitement of never knowing what's going to happen in this game. And I think it's one of the things that draws me so much to this, is the variability. I'm not so much of a gamer that likes to min max, as far as like, oh, I've got to do this, this, and this, and then I can have the best turn ever. No, I just want to go in there and I want to swing some weapons and I want to do something really cool and heroic. And then I don't know if there's gonna be any creature that pops out and starts attacking me back, and you don't know what's around the corner. I love that in these kind of games, and that's what I think one of the reasons I'm so drawn to like dungeon crawls and like D&D and adventure games, because who knows what's going to happen. It's all based on your decisions. And I'm very excited for what Steamforge is going to do for this here. They got some awesome articles if you want to read more about exploring, combat, the aspect decks, the marching order, the wandering monsters, as we talked about, leveling up your heroes, example hero builds, and then weapons and equipment, the different gear that you can use, how the focus tokens are used. to be able to do different abilities and things. The rule book isn't on here yet, but it is coming soon. The videos that they have, these are all that I've watched on here, are all Tabletopia example, or excuse me, Tabletop Simulator examples. I haven't dived into Tabletop Simulator yet to see if I can actually get my hands on Bardsung, but if it is on there, expect a video soon, and if it's not yet, once it goes on there, expect a video after that. So I'm very excited to get into this and try it out myself. As far as like what's in the box, you're gonna get the rule book, the adventure book, a game mat, 10 dice. Like I said, you if you're a D&D player at all, you've probably already got dice just like this, and you probably got lots of them. So I don't really see the reason. I have no reason to go ahead and add those extra dice to my Kickstarter. 5 heroes, so remember 1 to 5 players. 895 cards. That's mixed with a whole bunch of different cards, though. Hero initiative cards, profile cards. You've got the starting equipment, the aspect cards, event cards, vault narrative, boss cards, enemy cards, ability cards, treasure cards, wound cards. 895. I mean, think about it. If that's five, it's 11 different piles at 900. That's not going to go very far. I mean, you think about 90 cards per pile, essentially, or close to. I don't know, a little less than 90 cards, but that seems like quite a bit. But after you factor in like starting equipment for 5 characters, I'm really worried that that's not going to be enough variation. Ah, I want to say that, but I don't. I mean, 895 cards, that is a lot of cards. But when it comes to games like this, I want to have so much variation, it's insane. And so far, we haven't seen anything on expansions. And I have no doubt in my mind if they do expansions, they're going to add more cards and more stories and more events, different like whether it's a room tile, different tiles. I mean, there's 29 tiles in the game, lots of hallways, lots of ends. I mean, it says 29 tiles, but it looks like 10 tiles are end caps. So I don't know. Um, got some L pieces. I wish there was a little bit more variation than what I'm seeing here in the tiles. You've got standard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looks like 1, 2, 3 different room tiles as far as like the shapes. Some different hallways. I don't know. Again, I can't really say without getting my hands on it, but maybe it's just so that way it's easier to find the tile and it's less of a digging through all my tiles to say, well, where is that one? And then you got 8 boxes where the tiles to sort through to be able to find it. So I could see that, but maybe it's just the art they've got in here, but all the art looks the same on these. Maybe we need some more variation. Piles of tokens. Okay. I've never had any problems with the tokens from Steamforge games. I'd really like to see those available in acrylic at some point, maybe even as that's something I'd pick up as an add-on. It's like we've got 61 enemies. You got a greater demon, an ogre, a crix, a crimson hook, ferocious maw, giant rat, giant spider, and etten. Okay, we've got 8 brigands, 4 raiders, 4 brutes, 2 reavers, and 1 butcher. There's the butcher there. There's the giant. Looks like a warhammer. From what I can tell, maybe it's a giant sword. Hard to tell in that picture. Kind of small there. 4 berserkers, 4 hunters, 1 slaughter beast, 1 shaman, and 1 war chief. 6 miners, 6 executioners, 4 snipers, 4 kingsguard, 2 arcanists, and 1 king. Okay, interesting. Got some of the information about the designers here, who they are. Okay. Says this order is not responsible for any death or mutilation that may occur during this adventure. All right, so again, first stretch goal here, we got an Oni, got game trays at $100,000. I like game trays. I like some of the games that I have game trays for. So one thing that one game I guess that stands out that really I guess bothered me with what they did was Super Fantasy Brawl. And that's Mythic. That has nothing to do with Steam Forge. But game trays, I don't know if it was the way that how they needed them to fit in the box or what, But how they made the game trays, there was just way too much space, which made the game box way too big, way too much wasted space. I'm not the only one that says this. I worry that if we're getting these game trays for all these miniatures, that it's going to just add way too much wasted space in the box. The box already does look big, about as big as what I'm guessing, as about as big as what we see for Super Fantasy Brawl. We get a Goblin Thief unlocked at 130. New hero again. That one's like a dragonborn monk. Kind of like looks like a lizard guy, if you will. Really cool looking monk though, and I'm pretty excited to see how they're going to integrate that. Already got a turtle, so shipping information. So let's talk about this a little bit. Shipping, as we all know, is absurdly high. It's no different on Steamforge games. You've got USA for mainland USA at 18 to 26 euros. Man, that's almost $40, but that's a huge box, an absolutely huge box. And I don't expect the shipping to be free. I don't expect necessarily it to be dirt cheap either. But at the same time, I mean, when you convert that to actual US dollars, that's like $50 to ship it. What, and you think about the volume that Kickstarter does, I'm always curious to find out why Kickstarter doesn't work out a deal with UPS. Obviously Amazon does. Why how come Kickstarter can't work out a deal for shipping options for its games, or not necessarily its games, but for its posters or creators or whatever. I'm just surprised that they haven't tried to figure out something to make shipping more of a viable option. I don't know. Maybe I'm out of line there, but I always just think that shipping has obviously the costs have increased for everything from manpower to gas to security to all this other stuff, customs. You got VAT now when you look at United Kingdom. I'm am a kind of excited to see here that like UK a little bit cheaper here. A lot of times we see these outrageous prices for UK and Europe, and I'm glad to see. I mean, this is a company that is based out of England, so I'm glad to see that they're finally getting a game that they're not having to pay the outrageous prices on. It seems like a lot of times here in the US, we're actually the ones that are got the cheapest shipping prices. Turnaround time, you get Kickstarter ends the about 4 to 6 weeks later, the pledge manager goes live. 12 to 14 weeks later, the pledge manager closes. That's a pretty long window. I mean, that's 3 to 3.5 months for the pledge manager to be open. If you don't have enough time to complete your backing on that, that's just nuts, man. So that's a lot. 11 to 14 months after the Kickstarter ends is when shipping's gonna start. Hmm, that's not too bad. Like I said, all the videos that I've seen, I haven't actually seen any finalized product. It all just seems like it's done on tabletop simulator, excuse me. So I'd really like to see how the miniatures look themselves in the final sculpts as opposed to just videos and everything. So but as far as the pledges, $75. That's not too bad. I know we're going to see some add-ons here down the pipeline. They've already talked about that. They don't plan on doing a whole bunch of them in some of the Q&As that they've done. They don't plan on doing a whole bunch of them that jack the prices up and that kind of sneak up the price a little bit. But they do have some expansions in mind. Not sure if it's going to maybe even be a stretch goal expansion where we're going to unlock it in a stretch goal, then we could buy it as an optional buy, or maybe even we'll get one for free. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for this game. Like I said, I was a pundit when they had them for Steamforge games, and I like this company. I like the games that they make for the most part. Like I said, the exception be the Dark Souls game. Wasn't a fan of that one so much. I like the idea, like Dark Souls, just not the board game. So I'd love to hear what you guys think, about Steamforge games, about Bardsung. Are you going to back it? What do you think of shipping? What do you think of the miniatures? Pretty much anything. What do you think of this game? I would love to hear it in the comments below. So please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you want to be alerted on all of our other great content that release on Mature Metagamers, including video games, board games, Star Trek podcasts. So until next time, everyone stay safe.